Oh, you know, I should have said in the introduction, but I forgot. So let me just say it now because I want to immortalize this for posterity. We were at the Roosevelt Hotel, right, on Madison Avenue in New York City in 2007. And personally, this is meaningful to me because I have not been in this building since 1983. Some of you people may know what I'm yeah. When Leonard Peikoff did his Understanding Objectivism course at the Roosevelt Hotel 24 years ago when I was still in graduate school. So this has personal significance for me, and certainly you know, we're bringing Ayn Rand's ideas back to the Roosevelt. I don't know if it was Teddy Roosevelt or Franklin Roosevelt, but both of them were needed. Anyhow, let's get near the end. You had a point that you wanted to raise, or
I had a quibble, but I'm not.
A quibble. Well, quibbles are good. Let's. We can't spend a lot of time on quibbles, but we could spend a minute or two on quibbles.
I'm not sure if about this, but you said that thinking for yourself is redundant, and I'm wondering about that, because if more people thought for themselves, the world would be very different. I fear that many people, when they think, are just rethinking ideas that they've accepted without really questioning. So are they really thinking for themselves?
That's a good question, too. In case somebody didn't hear the question, he's pointing out maybe thinking for yourself is a necessary term and not a redundancy, because people may just regurgitate or rethink what they've been taught, and they're thinking, but not really thinking for themselves. And I think Ayn Rand's answer to that is no, that if you are thinking, whether it's about what somebody else taught you, or whether it's some new fact or truth that you've identified, if you are actually thinking, you are using your mind to look at reality, to look at the facts, to test the truth of a given idea. So notice, for example, it's one of the enormous benefits of living in human society, as opposed to living alone on a desert island, you know, like Robinson Crusoe or the Tom Hanks character in Castaway. One of several, possibly in a free society, many enormous benefits is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You know, I could learn an enormous amount from other people. I don't have to do all the work in math. Even if I were capable of doing it, if I were Aristotle, you know, one of the great geniuses in philosophy and science, and I were capable of identifying myself all the advances in mathematics, philosophy, literature, science, etc., it would take me 10 lifetimes. Living in human society, I don't have to do that, because I can learn that from other people. But what learning it means is it's ideas being presented to me by other people. But what learning it means is thinking about it, checking the ideas in my own mind against the facts of reality, asking, does it make sense? Is it true? And accepting it only if accepting its truth only if in your own mind you see that it's true, as distinct from accepting it only because some authority figure said so. Whether you understand it or not, whether you personally believe it's true or not, you accept it because your parents believe it, your family, your teachers, your professors, your clergymen, your government, whomever. So the difference between being a Roark and a Keating is not the difference between rejecting other people, you know, or following other people. It's thinking about what other people teach you or what other people believe, as opposed to accepting it simply because they believe it. That's a life and death difference between understanding other people's ideas and simply conforming, simply accepting. So I think Ayn Rand's point is, if somebody's thinking, whether it's about what he's been taught by others or not, then he's necessarily checking claims against reality, against the facts. That's what it means to think. All right. Now that's almost like I planted that in the audience, because that segues us very nicely into the point that I wanted to make, namely, the Roark type is able to make the advances that he does because he's a thinker and not a conformist, not a follower of others. But where the dean's looking to society for truth, where's the Roark type? Where's the independent thinker looking? It's like the question is, where's the source of truth? If the dean type wants to identify if a proposition is true or not, he'll simply look to society. He's the conformist type, the dean or the Keatings. They're the statistical mentality who believe, 50 million Frenchmen can't be wrong, right? If society believes X, therefore X. They're like a corrupt, public opinion poll watching politician. But where's the Roark type looking to get his ideas? I see a hand over here. Yeah.
Roark sees his ideas in his own reason and objective reality. Because something's logical, therefore it follows that it is right.
Right. Roark, look what Roark says. He's, in the rules of design, the materials, the site. He's looking to nature, right? He's looking to reality, regardless of what society believes or says or wishes or hopes. If society believes that the earth is flat and that the sun revolves around it, the Dean type or the Keating type is going to go along with that because that's what society believes. If 5 billion people believe X, X must be true. But the Roark type isn't going to be happy just because society says it. He wants to know what the facts are. He wants to know what's the case in reality, regardless of what society believes. So Roark's going to look independently out at nature, out at the world, out at facts, out at reality. He's not going to be a public opinion poll watching politician. I mean, 50 million people, he recognizes 50 million people are simply 50 million individuals. And just as one individual can be mistaken, so can any number of that. He wants to know what's the case in reality. And if in reality the earth revolves around the sun, a point identified by Copernicus, if in reality the earth revolves around the sun, not vice versa, then even if 5 billion people believe that the sun revolves around the earth, their belief is insufficient to change reality by one iota. So Roark's like a rational scientist. He's looking to what philosophers call external reality, to independently existing metaphysical reality. That's his source of truth. Now, I think this leads to an important point in the book's opening chapter, because Roark, notice that when Roark leaves the dean's office, he's thinking to himself. Actually, you know what? Let's let Ayn Rand speak for herself. Nobody has ever said this better than Ayn Rand does. So let me quote from the end of chapter 1. It's on page 27 in this edition. Roark's leaving the interview with the dean. He walked slowly through the long halls, down the stairs, out to the lawn below. He had met many men such as the dean. He had never understood them. He knew only that there was some important difference between his actions and theirs. It had ceased to disturb him long ago. But he always looked for a central theme in buildings, and he looked for a central impulse in men. He knew the source of his actions. He could not discover theirs. He did not care. You gotta love Roark's attitude. He didn't care. He had never learned the process of thinking about other people. But he wondered at times what made them such as they were. He wondered again, thinking of the dean. There was an important secret involved somewhere in that question, he thought. There was a principle which he must discover. But he stopped. He saw the sunlight of late afternoon held still in the moment before it was to fade on the gray limestone of a string course running along the brick wall of the Institute building. He forgot men, the dean, and the principle behind the dean, which he wanted to discover. He thought only of how lovely the stone looked in the fragile light and of what he could have done with that stone. He thought of a broad sheet of paper, and he saw rising on the paper bare walls of gray limestone with long bands of glass admitting the glow of the sky into the classrooms. In the corner of the sheet stood a sharp, angular signature, Howard Roark. Now notice something here. Ayn Rand, the consummate literary artist who does nothing by accident. There's a purpose to this scene. Roark's leaving the dean's office. He knows he's a genius, but he's a young man. He's 21. There's an important point that he has to understand. What motivates people like the dean? What drives the Keatings, the deans? You know, people like that. The Guy Frankens, the Ralston Holcombs. It's an important principle. Roark knows it's important because he's going out into society to make try and make a commercial success in the field of architecture. He has to deal with people, and he needs to understand them. So he knows it's important. He wants to find the secret behind the dean. And years later, he does. The principle of second-handedness, which he identifies years later. But notice, he walks out the door. He's thinking about the dean, and what happens? He sees the light on the rock. And as you, I mean, Ayn Rand's showing us Roark's cognitive MO. This is the way Roark's mind works. This is what's important about this scene. She's showing us the distinctive methodology of Roark's thinking. He walks out, he sees the sun, he forgets entirely about the dean, people like the dean, their irrationalities, their depredations, any of their craziness. He's like a great scientist. He's focused on the facts of nature, the rock, the sunlight, the ability to turn that rock into a building, what I could do with reality. Notice that in that last sentence there, you have the rock transformed into a classroom building, emitting the glow of the sun, the glow of the sky into the classroom, and the name of Howard Roark. That's perfect, right? You have natural materials transformed into commodities or goods beneficial to human life, and the independent mind, the name of Howard Roark, the independent mind who's capable of doing that. This is Roark's methodology. He is characteristically focused on facts, on nature, on reality, on what he could do, what his mind could do to improve human life, to benefit human life, not on the irrationalities of other people and of society. And if you understand that, you understand why Toohey not only loses his struggle with Roark, but why he's doomed to lose his struggle with Roark. Because Toohey controls social institutions, but Roark can deal with nature. And in a free society, he doesn't need the social institutions that Toohey controls. What he needs is the freedom to perform his creative actions, and the freedom that enables other independent minds, the Enrights, the Hellers, the Wynands, the Dominiques, to recognize his work and hire him. Yes, Keith?
Is Ayn Rand making that direct connection when she shows us at the opening of the story? He's atop a giant mountaintop, and then she ends her story. He has transformed that giant mountain into a giant skyscraper.
Oh, nice. Oh, you guys have a good teacher. Nah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. There's several points there. The opening scene that you mentioned, where Howard Roark's naked, notice, you know, on the top of a cliff. He's natural and part of the natural background, and he is the man, the type of individual, the independent mind who's capable of transforming the raw materials of nature into the goods and services and values that human life needs in order to raise us out of the caveman level and into, you know, a modern civilization. At the end, again, like you point out, as Dominique ascends, the last thing, you notice that Dominique rises above the banks, above the courthouses, above the churches. She rises above the social institutions that are controlled by Toohey, and she rises until there's only the vision of Howard Roark and the sky and the wind and the ocean. There's only nature, the sky, the wind, the ocean, and the independent mind that's capable of transforming nature into the goods that human life requires. Over and over again, Ayn Rand dramatizes this point, she symbolizes it, she articulates it verbally, she makes sure that the discerning reader is going to get this point. One more scene on the same theme. Classic.